Hi, welcome today to my talk on XR and education. Really thinking about how we can engage students of the future. My name is Amy Peck. I am the founder of EndeavorVR. We are a strategy and consulting firm working primarily with Fortune 500 companies on leveraging this technology. So what's the opportunity for bringing, why are we bringing in XR into schools? What can we do with VR with students? Kids have this natural curiosity and wonder. And I chose these two images because they're so cute, and we're not really talking about kids quite this age. I'm really thinking about more middle and high school. But in middle school, kids can still draw a line to this curiosity and wonder, and to their kind of natural joy and exuberance. I mean, when was the last time you were this excited about something? And then why am I talking about it? I'm focused mostly on enterprise and entertainment. Well, these are my kids. They are big, hairy man children now. They were very adorable then. So the one in the sky, Spencer, traditional learner, very linear thinker. Traditional classroom methods really worked very well for him. The younger one, maybe an out-of-the-box thinker. I mean, I like to think of him as a sort of spherical thinker, actually. When he first got into GTA, Grand Theft Auto, for the first time at about 14, the first thing he did was he drove all the way out, through LA and out to the very end of the rendering, because he wanted to see what it would do, and it just started replicating itself. And that, got me thinking, wow, this is just a different kind of intelligence, but it's driven by curiosity. So how can we tap into that? Yeah, so what can we do with XR in the classrooms? Well, I think there's a number of different approaches. Are there any educators in the room? Oh, good, okay. Good. So traditional classrooms, I've actually had meetings where I'm pretty much that girl pulling her hair in the back. I try not to do that obviously, but it serves, like I mentioned with my older son, it serves a certain swath of children, but not all of them. But it's challenging for educators. If you've ever been in a second or fifth grade, even eighth grade classroom, it's challenging to help everybody in the class, keep everybody on task, have them all work together. Digital has helped a lot. iPads, kids. If you bring the learning to where kids already are, they're on their iPads, they're on their phones, they have that connection with that technology already. We've proven that there are better outcomes with digital learning methods. VR is exponentially better because they are really experiencing it, and the engagement is high. And that, the newness of all this will wear off at some point. But now it's new, it's exciting, it's cool, so they're really, really engaged. But their recollection of what they're learning is exponentially better as well. So I'm just going to give a few examples of how XR can be used actually in the classroom. So virtual lab is a great example to be able to replicate experiments that you certainly do not want your kids doing in real life. Geographic exploration. If any of you have seen, I'm sure most of you have seen Google Earth, first thing everyone does is fly over their house. And then the second thing everyone does is go to far-flung reaches of the globe. And so it gives kids this sort of sense of the scale and where they sort of fit in the scheme of things. Space exploration, there's some really great applications around space travel. Historical reenactments, I think, is another incredible use case, to drop kids actually in an environment and let them explore. And I've told this story before, so forgive me if you've heard it, but both my kids did fifth grade, Egypt projects, and it was a whole semester of curriculum. And the only thing they really learned was how to stay up all night doing the final project, which is valuable now for my older son who just went to college. But they don't really remember anything they learned. But if they were both able to go in and see the pyramids being built and just the sheer scale and engineering feat of that, I think that would have resonated with them, and it would have opened up other avenues. And it's a way of teaching them just a different way of thinking about things. And then, math and geometry. Math is terrifying for a lot of students. they get stuck. Math phobia is a thing. Like, there's statistics around it. I think there's something like 75% of students find math challenging. But being able to go into VR and learn math concepts and geometric concepts and even science concepts, it's proving to be exponentially better, again, for kids. And it's also, kind of showing them that they can overcome things. If they get stuck, they can go in, they can just see it. They can see it better. And that's the other piece of it that I think is going to really change things, is allowing kids to succeed at their own pace without the expectation of a specific test, and let them get to that aha moment on their own, because they're not just learning the curriculum, they're learning how to learn. On the arts side, tremendous. And arts and music programs are getting cut left and right from schools. They can paint and sculpt in VR. A lot of different kinds of music. There's DJ applications, there's music creation, there's music play. Storytelling, I think, is interesting. A lot of you probably know Jesse Damiani, who's a writer for VR Scout and Forbes sometimes, is actually building a volumetric storytelling application so that we can learn how to tell stories in a 3D environment, which is a challenge. But even giving kids a 360 camera, they'll come up with incredible results. They'll come up with things we didn't even think of. Sports and fitness, another great thing, teaching them to be fit, number one. Being able to practice whatever sport they happen to love the most. So again, the point is many, many ways to bring VR into the classroom. Collaboration, I think this is very important. Problem solving with other students. I love the image of the two girls on the right with the AR application. Working on team projects together and really allowing, it's that sort of flipped classroom concept, really allowing students to work on projects together. But I think beyond that is then thinking maybe multi-grade, because I'll talk about this a little bit later about sort of the different tracks of bringing this technology into schools. But you could have the seniors in high school build a VR experience, then go into VR and watch the middle schoolers go through it, and even teach them, the little secrets. And I think that is a real benefit, because it also kind of breaks down the boundaries from grade to grade, but take that a step further and have schools who have, sister schools all around the globe, where students bring their kind of cultural interests into this sort of boundaryless environment, but not the politics, not the nonsense. So also, again, this is future generations learning from a very early age how to work with people from all over and all over the globe. So I think that's a tremendous opportunity. I'm on the board of XR Marin, and it's a group of educators and administrators, business people, and students, really looking at these exact topics that we're talking about. And the special education teacher got up at our inaugural meeting last week and said, special education isn't really special anymore. And I thought that was really interesting, because so many kids have challenges. I mean, all of our kids, I don't know how many of you are parents, but all kids have challenges, right? Some are labeled, some are severe, but everybody has some challenge at some point. So, how do we get from this kids disengaged, feeling like they're stupid, terrified of math, to this? This is what we want. We want that engagement. We want kids to feel excited. We want kids to feel empowered and able and capable. And we can do that. So not just traditional curriculum is what we need to learn in schools. Kids are learning everything they're going to need to go out there in the world, social and life skills. The social skills is I think, very interesting. VR is called the empathy machine, and I believe that's true. So we have kids who maybe have, specific social disorders like Asperger's, and there have been some studies where they can go into a virtual environment, practice social behaviors that will allow them to go out in the world and be much more successful when they're in a real life environment. Then the flip side of that is we can put kids with not those kinds of social challenges, but other kinds of social challenges in to see what it's like to be somebody else and see how hard it is for some of these kids. And then everybody gets to take a step forward. And that can fundamentally change their childhood. So this is why I really believe this is important, and I want to impart to everybody, and I'll talk about later how we can all engage in this endeavor. And then life skills, very important. Really hard for kids to understand money. I get the Venmo request. Mom, I just ordered a sandwich. You need to Venmo me $20. And he's ordered a sandwich when he doesn't have any money. So, that's my problem, obviously. But we're not teaching kids. But if you show them what saving that, $1, $5, $10 is now, and then you can project them in the future, and they can see what that will buy them later, or how being responsible or making good choices, and then making bad choices, where that might lead. That's going to affect them on a visceral level. I really don't want to get more Venmo calls. So how do we do this? Paths to XR in school. So I kind of look at it as three paths. The first path, that's the most important, is we need to educate everybody. We need to educate the students what this can do so that they are excited about it and they know about it and they want it in schools and they don't just think of it as this game. Educators. I'm glad to see educators here. I know it's hard, schedules are tough, but they need to experience what XR can do so they can get excited about bringing it to their students. Parents, we need to be responsible, and we need to be asking for this, and we need to help schools get funding or write grants or do auctions, whatever we can do. Administrators as well, and local government, very important. People don't know what this technology does. Still, it's remarkable. So then there's the actually learning in XR, which I've talked a little bit about. Curriculum, here's a few examples of some very good applications. There's obviously many, many, many more. So you can today bring curriculum into your classroom that is valuable to your students. And then there's the piece of teaching kids to create in XR. I think all kids are going to have to learn how to code. It's going to be side by side with math. And so why not teach them Unity, Unreal, Vuforia, ARKit, ARCore, so that they can build some of these experiences. Because I, for one, would be very, very excited to see some of the amazing things that kids think of to build using this technology. So if you're a teacher and you want to bring this technology into your schools, the first thing you need to do is get your hands on some hardware. And how do you do that? So libraries and universities, a gentleman called John McLeod in Marin is responsible for putting headsets in 100 libraries in California, which is remarkable. And he's one person, a very dedicated person, but he did it. So hopefully other states are following suit. So they're out there. Universities have them. Find the tech. Where else? XR associations. I'm a member of the VR ARA Association. They have a great education committee, so you can reach out to them. They'll give you some ideas. Virtual World Society, founded by Tom Furness, who is known as the grandfather of VR, and the GVRA. So a lot of associations out there. Social media. There are a lot of tech educators and tech people, especially on Twitter. Very, very active group of educators on Twitter. It's another great place. And of course, here at DWE. And other conferences, there are some XR and education-specific conferences. Worst case scenario, call me. I will help you. I want this to happen. I want us all to care about this. This is important. So I love this slide. Wonder is the beginning of wisdom. And we have an opportunity to tap into this now. And we can inspire the future. So let's do this. Who's with me? Thank you. So we have 4 minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, here we go, Slido. Oh, I love this. I love technology.
If there are any, just raise your hand. I'll hand off the mic.
That's a great question, Anonymous. Since money is being cut for arts programs, yeah, where does training, and parents, that's why I said parents. And there are some, obviously, there's some socioeconomic factors at play. HTC I work very, very closely with. I know Oculus as well. They do have programs. So does Microsoft. Reach out. We are motivated to help this happen, and the industry is motivated to start at a young age. So that's your best bet. And again, if you need to, I'll give you their email addresses. You just reach out to me. Let's see. Do you have data references to support statements about learning improvements being exponential? Exponential, yes, actually. There is some data. Depending on what the learning outcomes are, there are figures as high as retention being 5 times as high, but I don't want to misquote specific data. So again, I'm happy to share some publications. There's a group in Seattle whose name escapes me. Dane Lancaster, are you here? He's not here. There's a group in Seattle who are actually working on collecting in aggregate all of the data of schools and programs that are actually measuring the data around different learning outcomes. And that's what we hope will be sort of the basis to bring this into schools.
We got one right here in the center.
Oh.
Right here.
Hi, Amy.
Oh.
Right here.
Hi.
Good seeing you again. So we have actually deployed a VR project for human trafficking in schools. To be able to do that took also building a school-based paper curriculum. It involved a huge amount of work and cost. How do we pay for our developers to be able to build the content to go into the schools when the schools don't really have the money to pay for it?
It's a much longer play, and again, the financial component is a tough one. So the first part of it is we need to build them. We need to start teaching Unity and Unreal and ARKit and Vuforia in schools. And second, there are a lot of developers already out there, and it's this double-edged sword because the developers aren't building as much because there's not the revenue behind it, and it kind of stagnates there. But there are a number of great solutions out there, and if we can find ways to support them in the early days and get that data so that schools can get the funding, then it's a long process. It's like with everything. Schools are tough, as you know. Let's see. How long do you think a student should stay in VR? There isn't really a time limit. A lot of the experiences are run between sort of 8 and 12 minutes. I don't let my kids stay. They're older, but when they were younger, I didn't let them stay in VR for longer than 20 minutes. There's not a ton of data around it, but we don't understand, especially as kids get younger, we don't understand the effects on developing eyes and brains. So caution is obviously the best result here, and I think somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes is about right. Let's see, can all the same? Yeah, well, yeah, of course, but watching a video, and again, this is a question I get asked for people who haven't actually been in an immersive experience. Maybe this person has, but when you watch a video, you're sort of somewhat engaged. But when you're in VR, it's like you experience it. I mean, if you've ever been on Plank, and I put so many people through Plank, and they'll walk out to the end, and they know they're on the floor, and there's a point at which they can jump, and they will not jump because like every mechanism in their body is stopping them from do that. So that realism and that sense of presence is why the learning outcomes we believe, and the data is supporting it so far, are that much better.
Say one more, and then we can call it a wrap?
Yep.
Yeah, your choice.
How to convince school district to invest on a large scale. It's going to be one by one, and it's going to be on a county level. And so, for example, in Marin, the county superintendent of schools, Mary Jane Burke, is very passionate about XR, and she's only come to it, I think her first VR experience was maybe, 3-4 months ago. And since then, she has been actively recruiting people to come in and show her different experiences. And then she single-handedly, with the help of Dane Lancaster, who's also in the Marin County Schools, have put together a board. Now, we're fortunate because obviously with San Francisco, we have Autodesk, we have HTC, everyone's in our backyard. But for other schools, this is a format now that we can help you replicate in your school district. And getting funding for it will be a challenge, but there are also a lot of educators there who are writing grants, and they're getting money from the government. So we can help you, and I can put you in touch with some of those educators, because that's really, it's educator to educator at this point, and student to student. But I believe we'll get there, but I think the parents need to get involved, the kids need to, I think this has to be a group effort.
Great. Well.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody.